Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. Dum, dum, dum.
It says we're live.
Does it?
Mm.
Well, it doesn't say so in my thing yet. Done redirecting to your Facebook Live page. Are we live?
Yes, we are live.
Okay, we did it without Lucy. I'm feeling so accomplished.
Did it without Lucy.
I know. She's like, do you remember that movie, the Disney movie Dumbo, where the elephant can fly, but he has to hold the feather? Lucy is like my feather for lives.
Given that we haven't done lives between the two of us, and Lucy's gently nudged us into doing them, it feels like this is your kind of fledgling fight.
I also think maybe she decided that she was going to join us a few minutes late just to test us and see if we could do it. We're integrating, Leah. We're integrating things, not juggling them, right?
We're learning ways.
Learning every day, because learning happens everywhere. Hello, Facebook people. Leah and I are here from Beyond School, and Lucy will be here shortly. And today we're going to talk more about the juggle, more about how to step away from that towards integration. But today, very specifically, we're going to talk about work, because one of the things that's really challenging for people sometimes, I think one of the big things that's challenging for people to juggle is their work life. And when COVID hit and bunches of us were sent home to work remotely, that just got more complicated because all the artificial partitions we used to have around going to work while kids went to school that allowed us to focus on a thing are gone. And now everything on the merry-go-round is happening in the same living space, and that's harder. But the other thing that's happened that Leah and I were talking about just a minute ago is a lot of people lost their jobs, or a lot of people are realizing, oh, this is not really what I want to do. Or we talked to a mom the other day who said, after she had her child, she chose consciously to be home with that person. She didn't want to go back to her career job, but she didn't want to not work either. So, what might be a more integrated way for her to build a career moving forward? So that's today. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and I think also, particularly for mothers and women, given the impact of COVID, and we've been sharing, we shared them on the page or we share them in Boost, but we've been sharing articles about the impact of COVID, particularly on women, and how it's potentially setting back gender inequality to up to 25 years, and that women.
That quote you shared blew my socks off, Leah. I couldn't believe it. And yet when I read it, it was clearly true. And you're like, yep, we just got jacked, women.
Yeah. Because we are the ones picking up the slack. So the impact of COVID is on our personal lives and on our careers, and the women are the ones who are still doing the majority of the housework. They're picking up the education piece of the kids. If the kids are remote learning and learning at home, they are either giving up their careers and to create that space, or they are significantly sort of reducing them, and they are the ones taking the hit really for this. And that I think is adding to the pressure in all sorts of ways for the juggle, and it's adding to the pressure, for many families in terms of income, because if families are having to reduce their income by at least a half or whatever that is, that adds immense pressure to families when things are potentially already tight, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better for the foreseeable future.
I mean, I think we're all optimistic about the vaccines, perhaps, but it's not like that's going to be better next week. And I don't know if people keep saying, oh, 2021, the new year will be better. Like, wow, what evidence is there of that exactly? And if it's not going to be better soon, like, how long are we willing to live in limbo? At what point are you willing to say personally for yourself, okay, right, that's enough. I'm going to stop waiting for somebody else to solve this problem for me. We're going to shift life in a way that is more holistic, more sustainable for us in our way. It doesn't have to be Leah's way or my way or anybody else's way, but when do you take responsibility for that, particularly where your work is concerned? Yeah. And that was, it's another whole story, but that was the take-home message from the 2008 crash for me personally and for our family personally. And that was the point at which we very consciously built careers in a new way and built them in an integrated way with and for our family. So it's going to be fun to dive into that. And that's, in the Juggle boot camp in a couple weeks. No, next week. Next weekend. Okay, that's good to know. It's on my calendar, don't worry. But that's going to be one of the big things that we talk about, because this is one of the issues. Like, how do you create a business that you love, that feeds your soul, that adds to your life in positive ways, that integrates with your kids, that doesn't take away from life, that adds to it.
And it's not just a business, because there are the two tracks. It's a career, and whether that is working for somebody else and finding a company like Beyond School, for example, or many of the remote first companies who have got their businesses and companies set up in a way which really supports the whole person and the kind of conscious lifestyles that we're talking about. There are companies out there, and more companies are kind of seeing the light and seeing that actually if they enable and empower their employees to work in a way that suits them and to show up as kind of the whole of them and to have a more integrated life, and the kids are allowed to be on Zoom and whatever it is, that they show up in a better way for the company. And that's kind of what we're building at Beyond School, and that's why we're doing that in a very conscious way. And there are more companies out there who are doing that. So there are the two paths of you're either working for someone else or you're working for yourself. And it's at the moment, it's if we're talking about the juggle, and what we're encouraging people to do fundamentally is start to question, and is the way that you're living your life currently working for you or not? And if it's not, which bits are not working? And I think career and income and kind of career and work for particularly women is, I suspect, one of the big parts that is not working for them, and they're not where they want to be, or they're finding it the most stressful trying to juggle all of those moving parts. And so it's, this is the time to kind of go, okay, we're questioning everything. Is the company that I'm working for the kind of company I want to be working for? Do I want to work for myself? Is the business that I'm running, set up? Am I doing it in a way that is working for me? Am I putting unnecessary pressure and stress on myself? And it's, it's a time to question that. So we've talked in many of the lives about, we just get our heads down and kind of tread along the path and don't really ever look up and question what we're doing and why we're doing it. And this is another one of those situations and areas where we can really do that and then go, okay, if it's not, what do we do about it? Where do we go from here?
And it's scary for people. I mean, this one is a scary one because most of us have families, right? Like, or you have a mortgage, or you have responsibilities to somebody in life, and to say, oh, well, my work is not working for me. Like, right, great, show up because you need the paycheck. Like, what a luxury to be able to say, oh, my work's not working for me, so I'm going to do something else. Like, what? Most of us don't live in a world where it's optional. And we certainly don't feel like making a shift, particularly in the midst of a pandemic, is necessarily a responsible move. I've got a bunch of young friends graduating from college right now, not finding jobs, even though they're super well educated. They've got MBAs, they're, valedictorians, blah, blah, blah. People aren't hiring. So
super well educated in the old paradigm, in the old way of
old paradigm. Yep, that's a whole other conversation for you and I, isn't it? Yes. We can unpack the wisdom of following that path at some other time.
Well, but I think even that in itself is, is it working? If they have come through that traditional conventional model and system, and they are coming out the other end and they are finding it a challenge to find jobs and secure jobs and get onto the career path they want, that surely is the point of kind of, is this really working? Not just on a personal level, but at that macro kind of, bigger level. Is this really working for any of us? Jen, you've frozen.
Oh, there you are. You're back. I was just waiting. I don't know what people in Facebook land just saw, but I missed the last part of what you said.
Okay. I'm not sure. I think it was, you froze for me. So who knows? Who knows what happened actually on Facebook?
I didn't take my notes while I was waiting, so I won't be embarrassed. I don't know about you.
But yeah, it was more along the lines of, is that evidence in itself that the system is failing us anyway, and that what we're talking about creating and what we're encouraging people to do, right, from the kids through to the adults, a different way, because actually what's happening in front of us and what's happening with the kids coming out of the system now, they're struggling. They're struggling just like we from the system too are struggling too, and people have been struggling. And actually, it feels like a turning point, and it feels like a really, I think, a good opportunity. And we talked, I remember, I think I did a podcast with Lucy actually at the beginning of the first lockdown of the pandemic about how people were responding and reacting to the lockdown and to the pandemic. This was back in March, and felt really strongly back then, and I still do, that this is and could be a massive opportunity. And I'm a kind of glass half full person. So, and, you know, but I think that is key. We talked about the mindset shifts, and it is that mindset. It's, you can see this as kind of doom and gloom and, oh my goodness, you know, there are no opportunities out there. Or you can have a look around and see it through different eyes and actually look at all of the opportunities that there are. You know, Beyond School is a perfect example of that.
So two stories fast, and then a question. One story. A friend of mine in Ottawa just lost her job. She's worked for 20 years for a telecom company. She's worked her way up. It's been her career. She's done the very traditional path where you get the job, you do the thing, you graduate with the gold watch in 50 years. She didn't get the gold watch. She got laid off last week. What did she do? And then the other story, on the other end of the spectrum, my daughter, many of her friends are graduating from their master's degrees right now. They're the ones looking for jobs. They're the ones applying for these $100,000 dream jobs that look great on paper. But the reality is that they're going to be the guy at the bottom of the totem pole, the first person laid off if they need to be. They think my daughter is nuts because she has her own business. She doesn't make a ton of money right now, but she said, Mom, I'm in control of my income stream. If I need to make more, I know how to ramp that up. If I lose one contract, it's not like I've just gotten fired from my whole job and everything is gone and I'm building my skills. I have a plan forward. They think she's nuts. She thinks they're nuts. So what's the answer for people? Like for this gal in Ottawa who's just lost everything she's worked for 20 years, and that's her skill set. Narrow, there it is. I mean, obviously she's juggling a new thing. Plus, you've got these young people with great traditional educations, but no real world experience and no broadening of skill set and no control. And then you've got people who might have like some kind of online business going, like my daughter, but maybe it's not enough. You know, it's just a good start. They can see that it'll grow, but it's not enough. So what do people do? How do we integrate work? And what does that mean, Leah? You're the expert in this. I've watched you for a dozen years talk about this.
It's there's two things, and I think there's the emergency plan, which is, I need income now, what do I do? And that may not be necessarily aligned with the longer term strategic path, which is, now is the time to really sit and think about, what is it, how can I, you know, as you did in kind of 2008, how can I do this differently now so that I set myself up for the longer term to weather other crises and things that may happen. And that it's like there's two tracks running alongside, and there's the kind of emergency track, which is, how do I get income in now, what can I do? And that may be doing things that you might not want to do in the long term, and it may be getting any kind of job you can or bringing any kind of income. It depends how much of a cushion you have. And then there's the longer strategic path, which is, let's do this differently and let's potentially do this right from the beginning. And you know what we're talking about when it comes to, say, Hannah, for example, is that she's building assets and she's building foundations that, okay, she may not be making the money she wants right now, but she's putting the building blocks in place that enable her to do that and to keep moving and building forward over the next few, you know, weeks, months, years. I talked to a coaching client today, and we were talking about, she said, you know, how do I do this? How do I start? How do I know it's going to work? And it's like, I can't tell you, it doesn't matter how much experience I've got and, you know, how many people I've worked with. I can't tell you what the right thing to do is and whether this is going to work or that is going to work. But what I do know is that you have to know what you're aiming for, and you have to know what you want. And that's about intention setting. And it, you know, it kind of incorporates manifesting and some of the more woo-woo stuff. But even from a more left-brained place, it's about the strategic plan, and it's about the goal and what it is you're aiming for. And if you don't know what that is, you know, how do you know where you're going? You know, you have no idea what you're trying to build. And it doesn't have to be it. You don't have to know this is the business or this is the career that I want. You just have to know on probably a kind of personal needs and wants level, how do I want to be working? How do I want to be living? And that's about the integration bit, which is what do I want to be doing to earn a living? How do I want that to fit into my lifestyle? What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? And that is the consciously designed life. That's the integration. That's that I don't want to have to get up at 7 o'clock every morning and commute for an hour and go into an office where I am surrounded by people that I would not choose to spend most of my time with. I would like to get up at whatever time I want, you know, head to my desk somewhere in a private corner of the house, do a couple of hours work, have lunch with my kids, or, you know, and it's that that's the longer term strategic approach. And, you know, I would so be on Hannah's kind of in Hannah's camp going, you're the sensible one. You know, I don't want to. We've talked about outsourcing. We've talked about outsourcing education and how we have, in our society, effectively outsourced our education to schools. You know, and what has happened with COVID is that we are beginning to realize, oh, hang on a minute, what we thought was happening, what we thought they were learning isn't what they've been learning.
Oh, do we have stories about that?
Yeah, and where we thought they might be isn't where they are. And so we've got into this habit almost of outsourcing things, key things in our lives that we just don't question. And this, the career and the income and the business bit is another part of that, which is, I don't ever want to be beholden to a company or somebody else who gets to say whether I earn an income or not, and who gets to tell me that I can or can't have this career path, or I can or I can't do this job. I want to create those opportunities for myself and be in a position to do that. And I made that conscious decision when I left the corporate world. And that was my ex-husband now had been threatened with redundancy, being laid off about 3 or 4 times. And I remember the last time I just said, you know, that's enough. I don't want that insecurity of, you know, we're relying on someone else to tell us whether we're going to be financially secure or not. You know, let's just take it into our own hands, and then at least we have the control of that. And that comes with risk, of course. You know, it comes with the insecurity and the skills that you need and all of those things. And, you know, addressing the skill set bit. So your friend and the kids coming out of the education system with potentially narrow skill sets, or skill sets that might have worked in the old paradigm and perhaps don't work so well here. I think the journey that I went on when I left the corporate world, so I was a management consultant, is, you know, I'd been working with massive clients doing all sorts of things that I thought was just it's so not relevant to what I'm doing in my own business. You know, it's never going to serve me. You know, I've completely wasted X years of my life, and it's just irrelevant. And actually what I found over the years is that so much of it is relevant, and it's just that learning process of kind of, let's just take that big bit and bring it down to a much smaller scale and smaller level. So while it might appear on the surface that some of those skill sets are really narrow and they can't use them immediately, perhaps there are many other skills that they have learned and applied and practiced and developed that can be applicable and that can be used. You know,
so
many.
2 things up here. You know, so one thing, not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Nobody wants to quit their job and do something else. Some people just want to work for somebody and have no drama, like just go to work and do their thing and it's fine. COVID has kind of shifted everybody in that space. Those things are less comfortable than they used to be. But the thing I hear you saying is, regardless of how you're working, you know, if you're in a job where you're going to work and that's fine, but you're worried about, you know, will you be able to keep that job? Or if you're a person who is in the process of trying to build something different for yourself, the commonality in both places is security we create for ourselves by learning forward, right? Like the key to this is to envision what you want, even if you're still doing the thing you don't want for another long time. Envision what the thing you want and then back it up. Like, what are the skills I need to get to that place? And if you love your job and you love going to your job and that's no problem, then fantastic. But how are you going to secure that? How are you going to get yourself more time off? How are you going to integrate your kids better with that? Whatever your thing is, right? So the learning forward piece, I think that was one of my aha moments.
Yes. There's the future proofing, there's the kind of security, and there's also, which is something that everybody can be doing right now and can start right now, which is building your network and building your circles of influence. Oh my God, and yes. Really focusing on those. And that's about community, and it's about, you know, the bigger, more diverse, more active, more kind of responsive network you have, the better you know, that's like a foundation, that's a building block. The better you will set yourself up if things happen and you can't control them in the future, whether you're doing your own business or, you know, working for someone else.
Yeah, that network, like who you know, that's so important. It was so interesting. I was having a conversation with one of my best friends this last winter on the last trip I took actually to Guatemala. And I went with my best friend from high school who I hadn't spent a lot of time with since. And we were walking one day and I was trying to explain to him what he was asking, like, what do you actually do? And I was like, well, that seems complicated. And so I had been rambling for a long time, and true to his usual form, he looked at me and he goes, so all of that stuff, but what you actually do is you connect people. And I thought, oh, yes, that's exactly what I do. I connect people with the thing that they need. Oh, here comes Lucy. Yay.
Excellent.
And that network piece is so important. And I, I intuitively knew that, and I have cultivated it myself, but I didn't articulate it well. And now I'm so much more focused on it. And, your network really is everything, who you know and the connections you make. Hey, Lucy.
Hi. For your friend, that is so important, because what you've touched on there are the macro skills. So she will have been building relationships for 20 years. She will have been building all sorts of macro skills in terms of presenting, all of those different things that she can still use in a way that will work for her, whatever she wants to do. That might at first appear, she's been in the telco industry or whatever, and it feels like it's really narrow, but it's really not, because there are so many other things. And it's about being able to kind of, the word's not great and I think has negative connotations, but it's about being able to spin that, and spin your skills and be able to literally spin them to sell them to other people in a way that works and in a way that makes sense, because she has got a boatload of experience and years of evidence that she has been able to use and apply those skills in all sorts of different situations. And yes, within one industry, but that doesn't mean they're not applicable to something else.
And that's one of the things we're going to talk about in the boot camp is, how do you make this pivot? One of the things I've seen you share over the years that I think is brilliant are, these skills assessments and ways for people to figure out, hang on a minute, like, where am I now? What do I actually do well? What do I want to do more of? What am I great at, but maybe I don't love doing, but it makes money? Versus what am I pretty good at, but I would love to be better at, and I really enjoy, and then how to refocus on those individual things. Like, that's something that, I get excited about the Juggle Bootcamp and the segment that you're doing with the remote work and career and business building, because I've watched you over the years help women specifically who are just feeling a bit adrift for whatever reason in life. And you've helped them focus, you've helped them rebuild, you've helped them launch the thing that has just brought them alive, or if not, is the step to the thing that will. Sometimes it's not, you don't get it right out of the gate. You try something and then you go, oh yes, and there's also this thing that I couldn't see from where I was there, but now I see and I want that. And each little increment moves you forward. And
I'll say that I'm one of Leah's testimonies in that. I know. I'm one of Leah's testimonies in that. I remember when I first met Leah, I took her on to be my coach, and Leah helped me to leave my job that I'd been in for 10 years. And I was head of L&D, and I'd done a secondment as a managing director as well. And I was saying to Leah, oh yeah, I'm just really scared of leaving. I'm really scared of failing. And Leah said, are you scared of failing or succeeding? And that,
ouch.
ouch, it really did it for me. And when I realized that, and that is what I was scared of, and still rears up in me every now and again. I'm scared of succeeding because of a load of old family shit that successful women are nasty, mean and horrible people. And I didn't want to be nasty, mean and horrible, or at least I didn't want other people to think I was that. So Leah, in one opportune moment, just uncovered all of that stuff. And, I took it to therapy, worked through it, and now I'm successful. So there we go.
Lucy. You also said, I remember, you also said, I don't think I've got any of the skills that I need to run my own business and do my own thing. And I'm going to be limited by this and this and this and this. And, and I'm like, but you were head of learning and development. You have got all of these skills. You've got all of this experience that you can't.
Yeah, I've got an MBA. I just didn't have it in the dissertation. But, I don't know how to run a business.
And that's a learning thing. And, it's like you have to learn on your feet. You can't really do it any other way. You can take the MBA and you can do all the business courses you want, until you're actually in the trenches doing it on your own for yourself. That is the fastest way to learn. And it's, we were saying before you got here, people ask me and say, should I do this or should I do that? Or is this going to work or is that going to work? And I don't know. My answer is, I don't know. Try it. And if it doesn't work, then you try something else. I give you an idea based upon, some of the stuff based upon my experience about what I've seen, but it may work for you in a way that it never worked for me.
So something has just come up for me in listening to Lucy's story. And the first thing is, Lucy, thank you so much for taking Leah on as a coach, because truly we wouldn't be sitting here if you hadn't done that. And that's really important.
So true, isn't it?
So, that's like a testimony to what comes from taking this scary leap. Is that many years on, you find the thing that is your life's work. And it's like, oh my gosh, if I hadn't taken that leap, what would happen, right? The other thing is I had this really kind of obnoxious, like ageist thing happen recently where a young person in one of the online remote work groups I'm in was like, hey, those of you who are Gen X, in parentheses, who are old, how did you manage to learn how to do all this stuff online? Because, you know, you grew up in the Stone Age. So, you know, since you're not a digital native, I'm just really interested in how you managed to be successful. And I was like, wow, thank you very much. But, you know, it goes back to kind of the roots of Beyond School, where learning is happening everywhere and learning is happening always. And if you keep learning, the age doesn't matter. It's just a number. You learn the next thing. And what I've learned is where I get stuck, I find myself a millennial and I ask. And they teach me the thing.
Or a younger one. The millennials are old now as well, remember?
Yeah, that's right. Find a Gen Z and you learn. But, you know, one of the objections I hear from women my age all the time, and for full disclosure, I'm 46, is I'm too old. My life is over. I should have started my career when I was 20. I can't do this now. Like, I don't have the skills. I can't do it. So what's the answer to that from the two of you? Lucy, who's done it, and Leah, who coaches the heck out of people.
Well, I started retraining when I was in my early 40s. I started training as a psychotherapist, and then I qualified as a coach. I didn't believe in it, and I've heard it so many times since then from so many different types of people, all different ages, but saying it's too late for me. Oh, I wish I'd, you know, if it was my time again, I would. And I'm like, whose time is this then? Whose time is this? Does somebody else own this time and you don't own it because you're past a certain number? Absolutely. This is your time now.
Well, you know who I think they think owns their time? You know, their answer to that is, well, this is my time for my kids, or this is my time for, you know, this thing that I have chosen. And so it's not about me now, it's about them. And I should have done that then. And so, like, what do you say to that?
And I believed some of that. You know, as I met Leo, I was on the precipice of, can this be my time again? Am I allowed it? Is it allowed? Can I have it? And of course I could. And I took it. And that's my answer is, this can be your time now and you can take it. You have to take it. You have to believe you own it, and it's yours, and take it.
And this touches on two things that we keep talking about. One is the mindset. You can choose to believe that if you want, that it isn't your time and that you're done and that you're dusted and that, you know, your time is over and you're old, you know, 46 or whatever you are. It's like you've got half your life left.
More than that, my gene pool.
Well, indeed. You know, and the other bit, so there's the mindset bit, which is the key bit. If that's what you believe, fine, that's what you believe, and that can be true for you, but it doesn't have to be, and you can change your mind and you can shift your mindset. That's what we focus on day one, which is how to do that so that you can do it differently and you don't have to fall into that trap. And then the second part of that is the mindset shift number 3, which is integration. So it doesn't have to be either or. It doesn't have to be this is my kid's time or this is my time. It can be all of your time. And then that also touches on in mindset shift number 2, which is if you achieve that and you do all of that and you integrate, you are also, you know, you are being an amazing model to your kids because you are showing them that you can do it all, you know, and you can do kids and you can do business and career and focus on your own self, you know, self and wellness and health and all
wider
of that.
Than kids, wider. It's wider than kids. You're a model to your community.
Everybody. Yeah.
To the world, to all the world. But Leah, that what you just said was so amazing, and I've now forgotten it as I've started talking. I've interrupted you and myself, but that is something about what you expect you get. You know, we have this thing in our brain called a reticular activating system that tunes out stuff it doesn't want to see and tunes in stuff that confirms your existing belief system. So if you believe this is not your time, lo and behold, that is what you'll see. You get what you focus on, you get what you choose to believe, and you have control over that. So we're going to teach you how to bend reality and turn into someone who believes that your time is now, and this is your world, and this is your moment, and this is the right time for you to make all the changes you choose to make.
It isn't even bending reality, it's creating reality. You know, we are creating our own reality. We are the creators of our own reality. And that isn't woo-woo stuff. That is the truth. It's
science, brain, reticular activating system, RAS. It's, you get what you believe in, you get what you focus on. You know, if you focus on all the terrible things that are going to happen, then of course that's what you'll see and notice. I'm so excited for this boot camp.
I am too. And I'm thinking about the conversations I've had with my adult kids because, when I started rebuilding my career when they were in middle childhood, because I finally had some time for myself and also just because I decided to, I took some pushback from other people about that. Well, how are your kids doing, without you? And how are you managing all of the time? My adult kids have come to me and said, I'm so glad that you did that. You showed us what was possible. You showed us that we could do that. And I didn't anticipate that. That's not why I was doing it when they were little, but I didn't, again, with that modeling thing, so many things they learn that you don't think that they're learning. If I hadn't done that, maybe my daughter wouldn't believe that she could do it. If I hadn't done that, maybe my sons wouldn't have the intestinal fortitude to forge their own paths completely away from all of the conventional wisdom to do the thing that really pleases them. So, man, the consequences, if I had not taken that step, if I had lived small and played small, I love the consequences of having made the choice I made, like you, Lucy, but I look back and I think, whoa, if I hadn't, it would just been my life that would be different.
The ripple's massive. And the ripple starts with a ripple inside ourselves, doesn't it? Because we teach other people how to treat us. So if I decided to stay in that job where I was being underpaid, undervalued, underused, I was underdeveloped, I was unhappy, all the uns, I would have chosen to play by my family's script, by the narrative that's been going on for generations in my family. I've broken that. Thank you, Leah, for helping me to do that by realizing that I was scared of success and then facing that and dealing with it. But if we let that generational script continue for more generations, there's no ripple, there's never ever increasing circle, there's no change in our life, in our planet, in our reality.
Yeah. And once you become aware of that pattern and your role in perpetuating it, then you're responsible for it. Again, with it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. If you have that aha moment that you're playing out of your script and you choose not to change that script, you're intentionally on purpose perpetuating that to your kids, which is hugely terrifying. And totally ouch, right? Yeah. But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
So we're going to help you see it.
And also, Leah has so many seriously practical things that you can do today. I remember you did a program one time, Leah, that was like, make your first sale in one day. And you showed people how to set up a business and make money on day one. And I was like, wow, that's hitting it from the very most practical point, right? Like, you need to make money. All right, let's do it today. She can do that. Your ebook, we're going to give away to everyone who takes the boot camp. That's about that. There's so much very practical stuff in there for people only on the work part, but we're also going to address all the other pieces of the juggle.
Yeah. There's tons of stuff across everything.
So were you going to tell them about a surprise thing today, Leah? Was there some small thing we were going to announce that was exciting? Or am I talking?
I was going to let Lucy do it because Lucy is very good at announcing.
Lucy doesn't know what you're talking about. How exciting.
Talking about our weekend special.
Oh yeah, I don't know the details. It's going to have to be you, unless they're in our WhatsApp.
Have to look at the website and the page. So we are the Juggle Bootcamp is live, and we are running it live next weekend, next Saturday at midday Eastern time and 5 p.m. UK time for a couple of hours on the Saturday and also a couple of hours on the Sunday. It will be recorded, and we also will be releasing the recorded version for people to buy so they don't have to attend live. And we know that can be quite tricky, particularly at the moment, to carve out that time. But this weekend we have got a special offer. I feel like a salesperson, which is just for this weekend. So I think we are closing the cart at midnight UK time on Sunday.
We're opening it now, yeah?
We're opening it. It is open now. It is on the website. We will post the link below this, and there is it is the lowest it is ever going to be if you just want the recorded version of the bootcamp. And it's really affordable because it's super affordable. And if you think you can't attend live, or if money is an issue for you right now, but you know that this is really going to help you, then this weekend is the time to jump on that.
This is really going to help you. This is mind shifting, life changing. It is really going to help you. How much is it, Leah?
The offer is $175 for the 4 to 5 hours of.
Can we talk about that? Because that seems really low, Leah.
It was not WhatsApp group, Jen.
Jen and I did not agree to this. It's too low. Put it up another
I put it on there, and then I put it on the page. So yeah, but it's we charge, each of us charges a heck of a lot more than that for an hour of our time, and this is 4 to 5 hours of the three of us in your
You
ear.
get all three of us for 5 hours teaching you all the things that is gonna transform your world. I'm so excited about this. I almost wish, I don't quite wish, I wish I wasn't me, and I wish I was someone watching this and I could grab this immediately and change my world. Come on now. So
why can't we the world again, Lucy? Like, why can't we all just level up again? Let's just do it again.
Oh, that's such a good idea. Okay, we'll do that.
That is what we're doing.
So did you say $295?
No, $175.
What? I feel like we've become a meat market now. You know when they say
how
it's
good we are at selling.
not $295.
But wait,
you give
here's
me $175.
a free vacuum cleaner. No.
That is amazing. So I don't know how many pounds that is. Do you know that, Leah?
No, but I can look it up. I suspect
That's
it's
Uncle
under
Google.
150.
It's under 150 quid.
I'm gonna guess that it's 127.
It's 130 pounds.
Oh,
And the actual boot camp is 130 pounds for three of us for 5 hours, bending your life.
Yeah, and so just for comparison, the live version, if people come live, it's like $4.95 US, right?
$495. And how many pounds is $495?
Several.
Leah, who's asking Uncle Google.
Oh, I am. 367.
Wow.
Which in itself is what, 60 pounds an hour for the three of us per hour, and we charge, each of us charges significantly more than that for.
Yeah, we really want you to have this.
But the reason we want people to have it, right? Like, it's actually not just about getting live bodies in the boot camp. We want to make this accessible to everyone, because one of our really important core values is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in terms of equity, like, you can't charge $500 for every single thing and expect people to be able to afford that. It's not reasonable for lots of people.
This is in itself is a lesson in, because for us, if we create a recorded version and a digital version, it means that we've got that, we've made the effort once, we don't have to keep showing up live. We've got a really useful asset that we can give to people, we can sell to people, we can give to people who need it, and we've done the work once. And that means that we don't have to keep juggling, we don't have to keep juggling lives, and we don't have to keep juggling a 4 or 5 hour boot camp every weekend just to make some money from it. We can do the work once and sell it again and again and again. And that, that to me is, we're getting into the right stuff, but that to me is the beauty of the online model.
Well, and that's part of what you coach people in, like, in terms of people coming through this to learn how to juggle their businesses and careers. Leah can teach you to do that. And that,
sustainability, scalability.
Totally. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here today, ladies. This has been fun.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to be with you, Jen, and you, Leah. So yeah, we're gonna be here again on Wednesday live, and on Friday evening live, to tell you more about how we're helping women to move out of the juggle and into grounded integration. And yeah, I'm excited for both of those times. Grab the digital version now. It's on pre-sale now. I'm going to post a link to it as soon as we're off the live in the comments here. And then I'll be reminding you about that all weekend.
Cool. Well, it sounds good to me. I will be sure. Have a great day, everybody.
Happy weekend.